Nate Allgard, Connie Aden, Deb White, Shinwar Mai, Mikkel Pauline Normandin,
Here.
Willard Yellowbird,
Here.
Heather Keeler.
Here. Okay, we don't have more, so we'll just pass the approval of agenda and minutes. And business favored.
Do you have any updates or anything?
Sure, if you have a minute.
Sure, you can. You're a pusher,
Thank you, Chris Martin with Moorhead Police Department. I guess I didn't plan for any updates, but I know we have a couple things going on with Christmas right around the corner. Our Police Activity League, our PAL League,
Here is the.
it shows it's on.
That's right.
Test 1, 2. There we go. Chris Martin with the Moorhead Police Department. Just a brief update on our Police Activity League, our PAL League. Last week, we did a Shop with a Cop incorporated with Target, who had donated some funds, along with officers donating funds, and we were able to take, I believe it was approximately 25 kids over to Target, and they were able to pick out some gifts and have some cocoa and shop with our officers and some of our other staff that we have. And then this week, we're also doing a giving tree on a volunteer basis with our officers, and we work with Churches United on that, and we have about 30 kids that were in need over there, and they write down some of the gifts that they would be interested in getting, and then we put them on our Christmas tree at work, and officers take those, and they have a choice or a chance to pick up some gifts for the kids, and they bring them back, and they get them all wrapped up, and then they're under our tree right now, but then next week we'll go over to Churches United, and we'll have a party over there, and the kids will get the gifts and get to open them.
I love that.
And I got a phone call today from a Fargo officer. They wanted us to go to Churches United with them today because they had gifts that they were going to drop off over there. We didn't have staff that was available that could make it over there with them, but they went over, Officer Bloom went over there with another officer, and they dropped off the gifts at Churches United today. We had another PAL event last month where we worked with MSUM at one of their basketball games, and we had a police versus fireman game at halftime, which the policeman won again. But the better part of it was that our pals, they got to take a student with them, and the students were nominated by teachers. And they took the kids with, they got some gifts, they got to watch the game, and kind of just spend the afternoon or evening with some of our officers as well.
Fun.
Yeah, it has been enjoyable.
Did you say the fireman one?
Nope. I want to make it clear the police department beat the fire department again this
I
year.
was just wondering. Since they're used to those hoses, pushing up. And, those
Yes.
long shots.
Give them a little advantage.
Make sure you get that in the minutes, so it's out there in the public.
The police one.
Yes.
Any questions for the police department that I might be able to answer?
No, I think it was really awesome, that giving tree thing.
Oh, it's
You know,
fantastic. We have the officers that do it. They donate their time. All of the stuff that I talked to you about is time that the officers donate to come in to put these programs together and encourage their partners to be involved with them. It's a
There's
really
such
good
a
thing.
need for especially the homeless shelters and stuff, and Churches United and things, for the young kids, for the families that are there.
Yes.
It's always sad, because, there's so many, there's individuals, but then there's so many families out there that are very in need, and because they're maybe
Right.
only one of them are working and they just can't afford everything and stuff like that, so.
And when it's 5 degrees out like it is today, I can almost guarantee that there's not a bed available, that it's full
Right.
there tonight. Yep, and there's definitely a lot of need.
So I think that was pretty awesome.
I do have a question. Just when it comes to need kind of spread across the community, so you said you guys are doing Churches United, Officer Bloom did Churches United. Like, are there other organizations that you guys have thought of so that other kids across the community could maybe have gifts, but also more than just gifts. Like, have you thought of doing pamper drives? Or I know diapers are always one of the biggest things that are
Sure.
a need as well in the community.
There's always a need for everybody. It's one of when my wife and I give gifts for new children. It's one of the things that we actually give out to our friends and other people as well. But other specific activities that we're involved with, I can't think of another one other than we just recently had a Red Cross bell ringing day where it was a law enforcement day last week, and so we had people around town in Moorhead only, and Fargo, I'm assuming, had people over on their side as well, but it wasn't specific for an individual item that we were getting. It's just all the money goes to the local Red Cross.
Right. I'm just saying that because two organizations collected toys and gave them both to the same
Yeah.
place. Like, so just an example that I think of is I know both of the Indian education programs do their holiday Christmas parties, which one
Okay.
is happening tonight for Moorhead, and they like to collect toys for their population too. I'm just wondering if you guys have thought of other places to donate toys more than just Churches United. You know, because I think that when
Yeah.
we look at building that relationship between different diverse populations, I think Churches United is great because you see a lot of the families that are in some of the heaviest need, but also maybe getting out in some of those community events, because I know that with our Indigenous population, working on a trusting relationship with law enforcement is really big, that if a couple of you guys kind of partnered with their holiday party next year to show up and donate, either serve food or help bring.
Sure.
Like, we always do like food baskets too for families, because food gets really tricky. Like, a lot of people, you know, because they want to be able to provide toys for their families, then they don't buy as much in food, or they, you know, are lacking in gas, you know, for their
Right.
vehicles or whatever. So I would just encourage maybe looking at some of those other programs in town, as we kind of talked in the past. Building those trusting relationships with different minority populations, I think, is one of the big things that us as a commission think is really important. So
Right.
next year, when you guys are in the planning, if you guys want some input of some partnerships, we'd be happy to provide some of those.
Thank you. I appreciate that. I know we're not going to go away from working with Churches United, and then in addition to that, we did do the shop with a cop, which is not focused on one group. It's from nominations from teachers and staff within the schools.
What's the age range for that?
This year, I don't know what our youngest student age was, but it would have been either kindergarten or first grade, and then our oldest students, we were able to take two 17-year-olds yesterday. One of my partners and I got to go to Target, and we didn't do the full police officer uniform shopping with them. We were in more what we call street clothes, jeans and T-shirts, and hanging out with them for an hour, and they got to pick out some gifts for their family members first, and then we go back afterwards and we pick out a gift or a couple gifts that they had pointed out that they would like for themselves, and then we'll deliver them later on this week, and with all the other kids getting theirs as well.
Cool. I love it. Good job.
Thanks.
Great, thank you.
Sorry, I missed the first part of it, but I wanted to just chime in on a couple things you said when you mentioned about maybe having some opportunities where you could have some folks from Moorhead PD. That would be nice even to just share it with city council, and, you know, we could go there and help serve as well, and so you'd have the opportunity for people to be interacting with our local law enforcement, city council members of the.
Well, I was just thinking about that. Is that something that maybe we as a commission could like put together a list of different places where people could go and donate time or gifts or something like that, and do that, you know, maybe start working on that in September and put it on the website or something and say, hey, you looking for a place to donate some time or whatever, because you just don't know.
That would be
Hard to
great.
tell.
That would be very helpful if
And
we
you
had
guys
something
can
like
click on the
that
thing and
to
say,
us
"Here's
so
a
that
whole
we were aware
Yeah,
of what some of the activities
Right.
are going on as well.
yeah.
I know a few years in Fargo, we used to do that quite a bit with some of the Native Commission, but also with the commissioners, city commissioners, and then also our police liaison and stuff, but they would come in and just help serve or something, visible and stuff, and, you know, and talking, and then whoever's leading the thing would introduce each one, the stuff, commissioner and
Yep.
things, so that they knew who they were, and it worked out well and stuff like that, you know. They weren't there all the time, but there was always somebody from the city that was always there, visible, you know, that that showed that, the county government, the city government was participating quite a bit. So that was really great.
It just helps build those relations. It's not in a formal meeting, it's not, it's just in a nice social capacity.
Right. We should do that. I think that'd be great. And then maybe just send that out, put it on our page, and we could send you guys a link and say, here are all these things that you could do.
Right.
Thank you.
And then you don't have to go miss.
I'm gonna add one more thing just to expand the mind frame a little bit. Though I love the idea of toys at Christmas, we have a wide population that celebrate different things throughout the years, and maybe that comes with different needs or different supports too. I'm not super familiar with a lot of them either, but like maybe that could be part of the resource guide, is that, if there's a certain population or community that celebrates something else throughout the year and there's a food need or some sort of support, maybe we could add that on that resource or link as well. Because I think we need to be mindful that we tend to just focus on the majority holiday and religion, and we need to be a little bit more intentional in our inclusiveness for different cultures and their holidays as well.
One example that comes to mind would be I know folks that will host meals for breaking fast during Ramadan, and that would be something, maybe do something like that.
Right. Okay.
So look forward to that, I guess, from us in the next year. We'll
Thank you.
share opportunities.
List of our to-do lists.
Aren't you glad you come?
I am, yes, thank you.
And I actually have one more question, because this came up at a meeting I had recently with Steve Graneski. He's a retired professor at MSU, and he does a lot of work at Moorhead United. And he asked about, I know that that we have a program to refurbish bikes that have been recovered. So, and he was wondering how it's decided who gets those bikes, and is there a chance that, because there are some folks at Churches United who could really use some bikes, and will there be a way that they could be included in that, or how does that work? Are you?
I'm not the direct contact for it, but if you email me that information, I can get it. I can get a response for him. I do know that, again, at times we'll go to like this year we went to our teachers and we let them know we had some bikes available in the sizes, and we asked for some recommendations for individuals that may be in need of the bikes, and that's how, I think we had about a half dozen of them. I remember that because they were parked behind my squad car for about a month before they got given out. So we go off of recommendations a lot of the times. If you send me his name, I'll get him more information.
Deb, do you want to turn your mic on?
It's on, I'm sorry. Yeah. Yes, and that would be another one where mostly that's bikes that were recovered because they were like stolen or found,
Yeah,
found,
lost or abandoned.
Yeah, yeah. But I wonder, do you ever take if people had, bikes that I remember when my son was growing up that, it seemed like every year he would grow out of a bike and we'd have to get
Yes.
a new one. And we used to have the FM Community Bike Workshop that was a project that they would do. They're no longer around. Do you take donations like that too, or?
I'm not aware of us
Okay.
taking donations like that,
Okay.
but we might, but I'm not aware of it.
Okay,
That could be a pretty big
yeah,
outpouring.
yeah.
You know what I mean? Sometimes
I know. Yeah, because some of it, though, that's why I'm looking for places that might, do some of that. Like if someone needs a little refurbishing on it. And I know in FM Community Bike Workshop, part of it was a social justice focused. It was about, using bikes as a way of helping people get their own, so you'd have access to transportation and helping build community through this bike workshop. So. Yeah, but we don't have something like that anymore in the community, so this meets part of that. But maybe we could find some ways of partnering with Moorhead PD to support that. So.
Sure, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I think we'll just jump ahead and go to our guest speaker.
Do we have to approve everything now?
We're going to wait because she wants to, we'll do that after. So you don't have to sit here all night. How about that?
You wanted that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Mic on?
Yeah.
Awesome.
Here we go.
Miracle Field all the time. Looks a little bit different maybe, huh, Deb? Deb's played sled hockey.
Yeah, we didn't look as good as that. No.
The one thing that we are in need of is places in Moorhead to utilize. We don't have an ice rink in Moorhead we can use. We don't have gym space that we're trying to find. We'll gladly pay. I mean, we have it in our budget, but we play it at Roosevelt for all our indoor activities, Roosevelt Elementary. In our theater play, we did at Oak Grove. But we do our fashion show at Horizon Middle School. But that's one of those things in the community that it's there's a need for smaller organizations to be able to access, since we don't have a building of our own. So I feel your pain when you talk about a lot of the bigger organizations getting all the attention. You know, that's why I'm here and showing this video, so you can see we're here, we're present. We change the world by allowing these people with mobility challenges opportunities to live their life to the fullest. But it's more than just about sports and recreation. It's about a sense of community and being around people of similar abilities, because we have such a high incidence of substance abuse and depression in our population. A lot of them do a lot of self-medicating because they've had spinal cord injuries or whatever, and their life is so much different. Family and friends have kind of moved on or whatever. So it's really important for everybody in our program. And we serve about 160 families right now. And it's so important for them to be able to just visit with others, not just play sports, but visit with others, and those parents to have that connection. And the play was just an awesome thing. It was, but we do a lot of, our fashion show is, we usually have about 90 participants.
So where's the hockey, where do you play hockey at then?
At the Angels Arena in North Fargo. Yep, so.
Some questions about this in a minute. So
Huh?
I have some questions about that when we're ready. It is amazing.
That's my husband, so. Yeah, we serve kids as young as 3 and into our 60s. Nate Allgard is actually one of our participants, but he's been very sick, so. But we ski at Detroit Mountain, so that's awesome. We do stand-up skiing, bi-skiing, and mono-skiing. We teach a lot of things like sportsmanship, learning how to get along. So that's what that looks like to mono-ski. Usually what happens when you're in a wheelchair is wintertime comes and you just hunker down and you don't go anywhere, and then that depression, isolation. So we like push the envelope and get people out there playing, and that's pond hockey. Oh, and curling is one of our, yeah, it's awesome. Curling's an awesome sport. You know, and we're still so blessed, you know, that we received that award. Bill and I, you know, like I said before, we dreamed that this is what it would be like to include, and it's not, most of our activities, we have the siblings and parents and grandparents playing too, because if you can imagine, like in our situation, my husband is Mr. Athlete, and he has a son in a wheelchair. So how do you play sports that way? So the parents get in and play sled hockey, you know, seated. They get in and play softball that way, basketball, so they can get those bonds. Yeah. So those are a lot of the athletes that they've formed bonds with, that they go up to UND hockey games, or they just have these connections now that they're some of my best friends, so. Our track meet's coming up January 4th at Concordia, so anybody that wants to come and watch. We have 5 divisions based on ability, so we've got a power chair user, a manual chair user, people that need assistance so they get pushed. We've got an ambulatory division, and then we've got a walker chair user, and it's pretty awesome. But
You
that's,
said
yeah.
January 4th.
January 4th, 1 to 3 at Concordia at the Olson Forum. It's really a great time to watch. It's so awesome. So, but thank you for letting me talk and tell you about what we do. We are the best kept secret here in Fargo Moorhead. Seriously, we are. Nobody knows who we are. We've been around almost 14 years.
Oh, okay, wow.
And I bet you didn't know. No, see? Unless you're directly affected, a lot of times you kind of get in your little bubbles. So our goal this year for 2020 is just get out there. Money is wonderful, but for people to know who we are and the impact we can have, it's so life-changing for a family when they first come in, and the light bulb goes off in their kid's eyes and says, you know, I'm home, I belong somewhere, this is where I belong. Or an adult that's had an injury, you know, that they can get back their life and they can feel fulfilled again. There's nothing better than that. So I thank you. Yeah.
You want to start? Go.
Do you have any questions?
No, I'm just blown away.
Well, I am going to be honest and say I didn't know you were in this community for 14 years. I mean, I've seen and I've heard of some of the things. I'm really glad you brought the video because I think for some of us, you know, I always talk about this blindness of your own privilege, and often when I have that conversation, it tends to be ethnic-based, and I think that is a clear reminder that all of us sit in a privilege sometimes that maybe we're unaware of, and so I did hear at one of my conferences that the mobility challenged population is one that all of us could end up in at any point. And you're right, you don't know about it until, you know, you or somebody you love is a part of that community. And so two of my questions is, do you guys have a Facebook page, social media? You know, we all are all connected in different ways, that if a goal is to just get the word out in events, I mean, I would be on a personal level, but also I'm sure I can speak for some other commissioners that we would share events or your Facebook page or kind of help
We have
get
them
some
both.
traction.
It's hopeinc.org. It's pretty simple, yeah, www.hopeinc.org. And then if you just look under Hope Adaptive Sports and Recreation, that's our Facebook page. And then on our website under events, there's a calendar that usually says what we have going on that I try to update, but it's just my husband and I that do the 20-plus activities and everything and behind the scenes.
Yeah.
So the website is usually the thing that's not updated as much, but Facebook is, because then you get to see all the pictures. And,
Right.
But it really is. You can't really envision until you're there, you're in a sled trying, or you're trying the softball, and you realize, one, it's really hard, but two, you can live life in a wheelchair. You can still live a full life.
Yeah.
Winters are tough. It's like pushing a shopping cart in the snow. It's miserable. But you know, we're all in the same boat. When you're in a minority population, you oftentimes are overlooked. You're not mainstream. So even though we're similar when you're in a minority group. So I'm really pleased to be able to be here to be able to visit with you. It's an honor, and just listening to you talk about, you know, all these other places that donations could be made. That happens a lot. You think about the Red Cross or all those. They're the big ones, but there's so many people that fall through the cracks, and how do we help the people that fall through the cracks all the time?
Right.
I really...
So I guess I have one more thing, and then I'll pass it over to anybody else that has a question. It's typical, I always take up a little bit of time. But, so you talk about, you know, getting involved. Are there things that we can do? I mean, if we show up to volunteer for the 4th or the other events that...
That would be awesome if you wanted to. Deb has my email address. That'd be great, because we need people to cheer. We need people to help get the wheelchairs unloaded in the cold, wintry day, and then to hand out medals at the end. It's so phenomenal. It just gives me the goosebumps when I see these little 4-year-olds that they're in their wheelchairs just trying, and
Right.
and that's the way it should be. And I think about this because we've had families that have, from the beginning, their kids were maybe 12 or 13 and they aged out, so we expanded to the adult population because you can't say all of a sudden that you don't belong, but you really can't have a 20-year-old with an 8-year-old. It just doesn't work as well. But it's nice that these little kids, this is all they know now. They know that this is here.
Yeah.
You know? And it's so cool because that's the way it should be, just like when you're playing stand-up soccer and you're a little kid.
Yeah.
This is the way it should be. So that's what we dreamed of, is that in this community, these kids with physical mobility challenges can dream and do the same things.
Right.
And so
That's
it's,
so cool.
it's been a blessing.
I saw a picture that Target had posted, because Target's really good at, they had a boy in the little kid section in a wheelchair.
Yeah, in walker or
Was
wheelchair.
it? And
Yeah,
then
I
they
think it
had
was
like
walker, yeah.
a kid who was walking through Target, like just in awe of this picture, because for once in like, one
You know,
of
and
those
that's hard
publication
because when
things,
you're
you
a
see
child,
yourself.
whether you're of different ethnicity or whatever, and you don't see you don't see being represented in commercials or anything, it just totally, I don't know, just makes you feel this big. I think you just
Yeah.
can't align. Where do I fit in?
Yep.
Yeah,
Life is tough as a kid, and you just want to be able to fit in.
yeah.
Well, I appreciate the work that you're doing. I think that this community is really lucky to have you. And I
Thank you.
think that if you just continue to let us know what we can do, whether it's sharing
will.
opportunities or just.
I will, and
showing
if you
up-
can just, like I said, we'll get you on sharing our Facebook. That's, if people can, I think it becomes, knowledge is power. Because when you're scared, whether it's being around someone of a different ethnicity or someone with who has mental limitations or physical limitations, it's scary. But you realize that people are people. That's the bottom line. People are people, and everybody just wants to fit in. So that's, that would be great. We want people to see that our community of people in wheelchairs are just like you and me.
Yeah.
They just can't walk. Period.
I do have some things I wanted to say. And I've known about the organization for a while, and I just think they're so phenomenal. And I think it's just hard to even wrap your head around the extent of the work that they do, because if you think about so Hope Inc. is not just, it's working at things that in terms of like recreation and more just sports for fun, as well as working with elite athletes. So everything, like if you think about what, typically you would see other organizations do, one might be doing intramurals, or one might do after-school programs, and one might be working with, star athletes. They're doing all of that. And that's the thing, is you think about one group that is trying to meet all of those different needs, is really just incredibly impressive. And I know I've talked about this, looking at things like their sled hockey program that they just participated, on an international level.
We
They
played
went to
against the
Michigan.
Russian all-star team, and we lost 2-1. We should have won that game. We outshot them. No, we outshot them. We outplayed them, but the score was the thing. But we left it on the ice. But yeah, we lost. It was Russia has 60 million people, so they took the cream of their crop.
Yeah.
And then we have a community of 250,000, and that's how good our junior team is.
Yeah.
And we lost 2-1. So.
And we had the chance when we, the council, we participated in one of the sled hockey fundraiser events, and so we were there, and in fact, one of the athletes, the real athletes, was there helping out, and he was reffing, and in between, he would go out and skate, and watching, it's just beautiful to watch somebody with such talent, and you're like, well, that's how it's actually supposed to be done, whereas we were all tipping over and had to have them come and keep putting us back on our sleds and everything. But I just wanted to emphasize that of, first of all, just thinking about that, of like trying to meet needs at all those different levels, and doing it so well. But
you.
then also why I think, I think about the first time I saw Adair speak on this, I actually had her come to a conference that I organized, and she talked about the value of having things where all of the family can be involved. And so, and you mentioned that tonight, that very often if you may have, for instance, in a family, some kids that don't use wheelchairs and they can go to certain things, and then the kids that are in wheelchairs can go to other things, but they can't do things together. And having something where the whole family can participate is so valuable, you know? And so I wanted to emphasize that. But to me, the big thing I wanted us to think about is that as a, Human Rights Commission is how we can advocate too is, when I think about what you're doing, and, I know that as a nation, we have laws, we have ADA compliance things, but this seems to be an area that has really slipped through the cracks. So like, if we were as a city, if we didn't try to do things to make sure that people could get into buildings and, that our streets were accessible and things like that, we would be out of ADA compliance. This isn't something that I don't know the laws that well, but this doesn't fall under that. But you think about, if we are saying that we, as representatives of Moorhead, want this to be a place where everybody is welcome, where everybody can have full, rich lives in Moorhead. But if you think about things like, we have a hockey arena that in part is publicly supported, that you're not allowed to participate. So certain kids cannot. So if you are there, if you are doing sled hockey, you wouldn't be able to use that Moorhead facility. Or and I don't work in the school district, but just thinking about, they don't have adaptive sports programs within the school district. You are the only thing that we have, and so
they have adaptive PE, and they've got like Special Olympic bowling, but to try to blend things together, So when it comes time to, all the schools have track meets, but then those kids with the mobility challenges really don't have, they always get last place by just a long shot. So it'd be nice to get more awareness so that when we hold track meets twice a year, so that those kids can get in and participate against kids of similar abilities, so that they can feel that success.
So I think this is really important for us to be looking at, is this, we are sort of the, part of our job as the Human Rights Commission is looking at how we can help to ensure that this is a welcoming and supportive community for everybody. And and to me, this is, it's been an awakening of looking at places where we really are missing the mark, that not everybody has access in the way that they should. Not everybody, some of the things that are publicly funded programs are really not open to everybody, and that's troubling. So, and as much as we could do to work to change it, I think we should.
The Moorhead parks have been just outstanding to us, though. I mean, that Miracle Field, we use that probably 3 or 4 nights a week.
Where's that at?
That's on 40th. It's where
SGR.
Yeah.
By Reinertson, kind of?
Yeah, a little
Yes.
bit farther, yeah.
And in fact, I should say too, so I know that, and so I don't want to say that we're not doing anything.
No, but we could do better, but that's, I think, across the board with everything when you're,
A lot of times you don't notice it. We don't know. Yeah.
so.
Yeah.
Just to strive to move forward to try, we don't expect miracles. The rink we're at right now is older than the Hills, Angels Arena. It's by Chubb's Pub. It's old. It's not really very accessible. We have to carry our kids on and off the ice. It doesn't have zero entry, but you know what? They have been through thick and thin. They've allowed us to use that ice. We have ice, whereas unfortunately in Moorhead, we don't know if we're going to get ice for the next year or two. So,
That's something I would like us to continue the conversation and perhaps, consider sending a letter of support or something that, to say that we think it would be, as a city, that it would be beneficial for us to make sure that place is accessible to everybody. I did want to mention too that along those lines, that that the city is looking at creating an inclusive playground.
Yeah.
So,
Mm-hmm.
and I think that that's a good step too, is that, again, creating a place where all kids can play together.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, that's going to be awesome because that's going to be by the Miracle Field. So,
Yes.
that'll be really nice to have that. People take that for granted, again, because you have wood chips or whatever, and you imagine a kid trying to crawl around and getting the wood chips in their hands. It's not pleasant.
Yeah.
So, it'll be nice. And then it'd be nice to eventually get like a splash pad, for the kids that can't really get, and everybody loves a splash pad when it's, 95 degrees out and humid. So it'd be something that would draw into the city, and it'd be nice, but we can have our bucket list of dreams, right?
Yeah,
Right.
of course.
Well, and actually, and while you're here, just if you have it, because we've had folks come in from Freedom Resources, and we've had conversations like this of, what are some other things where you feel there are areas that you think we could work on improving in Moorhead? Like, what are some of the things that you've heard about?
Get rid of the snow, no.
Yeah,
The only-
I know.
That's the only thing, that's the biggest barrier. It's so hard, and there's nothing we can do about that, That snow is so tough to get around, and, people, they do their best to try to shovel to the end, but I think they forget at the very end there, if you're in a wheelchair, you can't get over that little area, but it's hard, or the snowplow comes and you've already done it, but, we're blessed, so we don't have a lot of gripes. This community has been good to us, and we're working to make sure that people live the fulfilling lives as best they can. We can't make everything completely accessible. That's a rose-colored thinking glass. It would be so nice, but we realize the limitations we have, and we just go past that. We just break down that barrier and just get there anyways, even if it means it takes 2 or 3 of us lifting an adult that's 250 pounds to where they need to be. So we'll just do it regardless. So it doesn't stop us. We're not afraid. We're gonna go. Yeah.
I'm impressed.
Oh, thank you.
Anybody else have any other questions, comments? No? Thank you so much for coming and sharing.
Thank you so much, Deb, for always advocating. She's just always advocating for us, and I just I appreciate it. And I didn't realize this commission was here, just like I didn't know. And so I'm just in awe that you guys are doing this, and that you're trying to put everybody that's maybe been marginalized back on the front page. I guess that's the only way I can say it, is that, I have white privilege, but I also live with a child that's had 91 surgeries, that's battled for his life, that doesn't walk. So I can see on both sides, and that's why our organization works so well, though, is my husband and I walk those shoes every day. And walk those. So anyways, I do thank you very much for your time, and Deb, I'll have the email information so you can start sharing our Facebook. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
All right, we'll move back up. How about we move back up to approval of the agenda and minutes of the Moorhead Human Rights Commission meeting for November 20th, 2019, and then we will, where's my agenda thing? Oh. I was thinking it was November, it's not. And then the agenda for the December 18th, 2019 meeting today. So anybody have any questions, comments, changes that need to be made?
I make a motion that we approve the agenda and minutes.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. We will approve the meeting agenda for the December 18th, 2019 meeting and the minutes from the November 20th, 2019 meeting. Annual plan and development.
The, included in your packet is
Where
the
are we
plan
at?
with the
Okay.
changes that were discussed last time.
Okay.
You've discussed it for a number of meetings now, and I think we've got everything in there that you guys requested. So if you're satisfied with it, you could go ahead and approve it. If you have changes you want made, we can discuss it and you can let me know.
Did you look at it?
Well, you emailed this out,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
It hasn't changed since that, yeah. I like it. I appreciate the work you've done with all of our suggestions and changing things. The only thing I ask is that, like, the year outline, we can add and change, and, I just think that there's different unique things about the community, so as long as that's always open to add and change, I think we did a good job at making some needed updates.
Oh, you mean like this regular business thing?
Yeah.
Yeah, oh, yeah, I think that's more of like, kind of a guideline, and this is what we for sure should be doing. And we can add things
Okay.
whenever.
Yeah.
Change the dates, that's good.
So do we need a motion to approve it? Is that where we're at?
Yeah. So we can approve this, maybe? Okay. So we'll need anybody want a motion? I don't know if I can.
I'll make a motion to approve the 2020 annual work plan as presented in front of us.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none. The 2020 annual plan, as presented today, is approved.
Yay.
Yay, so now what happens?
Now we start working on
With it.
the next year.
The plan gets submitted to city council.
So you just send it to them, we don't have to,
I'm not entirely sure if they want it presented. I'll talk to you.
perfect.
I'll like be on consent agenda.
Yeah, that'd be great. I'm so excited that we got that done, yay. Okay, reports, announcements, upcoming events. Anybody?
I have one.
Okay,
So I wanted to mention, ACT UP Theater is a local theater organization that also picks productions that are focused on social justice issues. And for the last few years, they do a big summer show, but in the winter, for the last few years, they've done something that's also a fundraiser for a local organization. And this year, they're doing, they do a cabaret, and they're doing Cabaret for Kaleidoscope, which is, Kaleidoscope is a youth LGBTQ organization. And so if you're interested, it is in Moorhead at the TAC, well, I guess technically Dilworth's, okay, so we're right over the border at the TAC Music Venue, and it's December 29th and 30th at 7 o'clock, and so it's a cabaret, and so all the performances will either be LGBTQ themed songs and things like that by LGBTQ performers, and then all of the money raised will go to Kaleidoscope. So, so if you're interested, I'll pass this around, but it should be a fun event. It's a Sunday and Monday night, so.
I do want to see that. Do you have any other events? I have an event.
I have nothing. Anybody?
One.
Okay.
Going back to our 2020 agenda, it pains me to bring this up, but since I'm looking at this and one of the areas of focus is local partnerships and public relations, I just want to bring awareness to one thing that's come up in the community in the last week or so that I'm aware of. I would hate to not bring this up and have this organization portray itself as representing the Kurdish community in the Fargo-Moorhead area, but I see no other way but to bring awareness to that. There's a few individuals that I can get into the names in a more private conversation, but there's a few individuals that are starting up a Kurdish community in the Fargo-Moorhead area, focused on or portraying themselves as being the leads in local partnerships in the community for representing Kurdish people, but their motivation is power and political influence. And it pains me to say that, and I really don't. I've been conflicted in bringing this up the last week or so, but I can think of no other platform bigger than this that I'm a part of in doing that. Several people have, actually more than several, have approached me and asking me to bring awareness to it. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, when I think of a nonprofit organization, 501c3, I think of something that is valuable to everybody, where somebody does it out of their, out of the goodness of their heart, rather than a personal interest I don't want it to look bad upon the Kurdish people in the community, because Kurdish people are hardworking. I mean, I don't think anybody, I've never heard of somebody is saying otherwise. And it's not easy to bring this up, but I think I'm almost obliged to do so. So I just want to make mention of it, so that as we're looking to make local partnerships, we don't partner up with the wrong group. I know there's another Kurdish community, Kurdish organization that does an amazing job. The individual goes out of his own way to go out of town with local Kurdish community members to attend their appointments free of charge, do whatever he can to go out of his way to do that. But this other organization does not, is not going to be doing the same thing. And I would hate to have them get more exposure when their intent is not the same thing. So,
Is that something that's happening
yeah,
with this group?
yes. Well, they haven't started yet. but
That's what I
they-
mean with HRC?
No,
Okay.
I'm sorry. This is a
Well,
Kurdish, this is an
I think he was just
organization.
saying, like, when we're putting together our list of resources and.
To take care.
Promoting things. that-
Right.
To just kind of maybe.
Be aware.
Be aware and investigate fully, not just like slap somebody's, is that what you're saying? Okay, just, kind of do a little research and make sure that we're legit and they're representing what we believe in and what we stand for.
Mm-hmm.
What you mean? Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's fair to even extend
Well,
more
that
than
should
just
be
the
with
Kurdish
everybody.
population.
Yeah, I
think
just-
it's a good reminder that there's, I mean, I'm sure in all capacities, there's
Oh, yeah.
people that have ill intentions with things, so we just need to make sure that if we're creating partnerships, that we're asking the people who understand those populations the best.
Yeah, I think it would reflect poorly on us, no matter what group it was, if we selected one that had bad intentions.
Yeah.
So I just want to bring awareness to that. When you said,
At first,
Upcoming
I thought you
events,
were
I was
saying
like,
we had to change
no, I was, no, when you said upcoming events, I'm like, okay, I'll bring it up, and then I remembered local partnerships, and I was like,
No, but that's a good point. I do think when we start looking at making that list, we need to really make sure we're making it,
To follow our.
yeah, to follow,
Mhm.
just to make sure we have the correct information and.
are doing our due diligence.
Right.
Well, and I think even, no matter what, though, there's always, and I have no idea what, any of the specific details of what may or may, you made up, this may involve, but I think looking on a broader level with anything like this, I mean, I
Right.
think we want to be clear, when we are doing things like that, we're helping make connections, it's not, certainly not an endorsement of
Right.
one, it's, we're not,
We need a little disclaimer saying,
right, yeah.
right, that we don't take any
Right.
responsibility for what those particular places, because we don't have any control over it. We're just making a list.
Yeah.
I think when I heard her talk, it really hit me, because I think I'm privileged, in the sense that I'm mobile. I think that I'm fairly a good athlete. I can walk as I please, I can talk as I please, but some people are not. And it just really blew me away. I've heard of Hope Inc., but I never knew that they'd been around for 14 years. And just watching that video, it just hit me that I take a lot of things for granted. And I would hate to have one organization, overshadow things that the good ones do.
If I could also add, related to that, so the issue that I said I wanted to bring to the commission wasn't necessarily about the ice arena in particular, but maybe that would be something to have on an agenda for discussion of how we could, because again, I did see where it seems like it overlaps with part of what we talked about in terms of leadership, that we could be the voice for looking at how we're doing as a city. So the city invests in different resources and things like that. So if we hear that there are places where some of our resources may not be as accessible to everybody as it should be, that could be something where we could play a role of, even if it's sending a letter or something, for advocating to make sure that we are using our resources in a way that benefits everybody, that some people aren't excluded. So when I'd heard about that, it made me think like, oh, maybe that's something that maybe with our meeting in January, even just to have that discussion, because I think as we worked on our plan, we had talked about what does it mean, what are we doing, and what does it mean for us in terms of that leadership role. And I think that's the kind of thing like when we could, where we could maybe be advocates to look at how, kind of that self-reflection on how we as a city are doing, with our resources and things, so.
Does the Park and Recreation, do they have their own commission?
Yes, there's a park board.
Park board?
Yes,
that-
yeah.
So that'd be a good place to start.
Yeah, and and again, these are things that as an able-bodied person, I don't think about all the time. And it sounds like that she said from, what Adair mentioned, that they do within Park and Recs. And it made me think, I don't really know what they have for adaptive equipment in the school district. That's outside of the city's jurisdiction, but, things like that. Or in this case with the Moorhead Hockey Arena, which is a public, we've partnered with them on that, so there are city resources involved. So looking at anything like that, like how, what are we doing as well as we could be doing?
You're talking about the one in the high school, as part of the high school?
No, our brand new, so we have
No, I
the
know.
more,
My
yeah.
kids are
We
in
just
hockey.
put in we just added a third rink, yeah.
Right.
And they actually have made, so to their credit, so that actually and it's a great facility, and they've actually made the new rink accessible, that you can roll right out, as opposed to the rink that she was mentioning that they use in Fargo. There's actually between the, when you come in to go on the ice, there's a very, like a,
Right.
a lip,
Yeah.
okay? So you can't go right out onto it. And the other thing that they did at the new arena here with the new ice rink is they put the glass all the way down. So again, if you're on a sled where you're much lower to the ground, you could still see what's happening out on the ice, as opposed to where a lot of times you think about if, they will put it up higher. And so in the other ones, if you're one of the sled hockey players, when you're off the ice, say you're in the, on the bench or, that area.
I'm there all the time, but which, I don't,
So-
no, I know the new one is the Sanford rink, but I don't remember there being glass all the way down to the bottom.
This is what I was told.
No, there's not.
Okay. Okay, so that they've said you could see out, yeah. If you're in like the penalty box or something.
Oh, maybe in
Yeah.
the penalty box part,
Yes,
yes.
yeah, so
But
for the
I'm like
players,
around, I'm
or
like,
that area, yeah, yeah.
You can roll right out there. The other
Yes,
two rinks,
yes.
there's a step down.
Yes.
Yes.
And that was the typical way, that's the rink that they use in Fargo.
Right.
It's not a roll right out.
Yep, and there's a ramp
Yes.
going down to the,
Yeah. Yes.
it's very accessible.
Right. Unfortunately, they're not allowed, they can't use it. So it's made for folks to do sled hockey, but our only
Guessing
sled
that there's
hockey
not-
teams
right.
can't get ice time.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Well, and then
to-
the whole reason I understand was they made that other rink is because of ice time, because kids are going at
Right.
like 6 in the morning. I mean, they've got that thing booked
yes.
all the time.
Yes. And I love the fact that we have successful hockey program, but I would like all kids to be able.
Right, exactly.
Mhm.
I didn't know if you were talking about the one in the high school,
Yeah.
that rink. Is there two there?
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So I'm really glad that they were thoughtful in terms of how they designed it, but it doesn't meet the purpose if
Right,
if
if
the
it's not
players aren't
used.
allowed to actually
Right.
use it,
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah, and I'm sure that they've got a lot of challenges in terms of finding, time to, there's only so many hours in a day.
Right.
But that might be something where just saying a gentle, hey, we really think this is important, and we think it should be given a greater priority, Or if they're, since they don't have programs for kids that are using sled hockey, this is the only, Hope Inc. is the only one.
Right.
Yeah.
No, that's sad that, I mean, they're an entity in Moorhead, but they have to use mainly Fargo
Fargo.
facility.
Exclusively Fargo.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Other than the
Miracle Field.
field, right?
Yes, yeah, no, for hockey, I just
Right,
meant for
but I
ice
was thinking
hockey.
like all their things.
Yep, yeah, they mostly, yeah, yeah.
I have an event that's actually happening tonight. Moorhead Indian Education is having their holiday party. So it's from 6 to 8 over at the high school. If anybody's interested in popping in or heading over there, I know that they do like a free meal, and they got gifts from, I don't know, some LinkedIn, I think, is where they got all their gifts from for tonight. But 6 to 8.
Okay.
Food.
Speaking of that, I think we should all, like, because it's the holiday season, we should all start writing down places that, we talked about earlier, about places that people can volunteer. I mean, throughout the year, not just the holiday season, but I think we should start that right away in January and just kind of all start compiling a list. And then maybe when we get closer toward the middle of the year, we can kind of put that together so we can share that with everybody. Because, I mean, all these things are popping up and it's fresh in your head, so maybe just start a little notepad on the side and go, ooh, this would be a great place to, because I know we talk about this stuff all the time, but I don't feel like we always have a huge plan on putting it together.
I think we could start with the, what's in the draft, and we can add to that.
Well, no, I meant the events, for the holiday party that they're having
Oh.
right now, or just volunteering at different places as we were talking about earlier.
Right.
We can wear our name tags to those events, right?
Mhm.
I think it would be helpful to have a list of the different places that people can go and help, or they're looking for help, volunteers for this, or like even at the track meet, just different things like that. Super.
Great.
Anything else? No? That kind of, I think we lumped in new business with, like we always do.
Sorry.
No, that's perfect. I like it. Get it all done at one shot. All right. Does anybody want to make a motion to adjourn?
Move to adjourn.
Second?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? None? Okay. We're adjourned.